Okay, that was creepy. All right, let's make us some music. We'll put us in the lounge today. Lounging. All right. Hey there, Brent. We're already kind of cooking along here. So I'm going to put us into the drawing monitor mode. Yep, smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Happy and proud and thrilled. Alrighty. We've got some work we've been kind of doing over here, and that's okay. So I'm going to make this a little table for nope. Really. Duplicate the layer, not duplicate the layer, because that didn't help me any at all. I'm just gonna say that now for the record. Make this wood color. And so make this color, and that's fine. Yeah. So yeah, I'm moving along. Can do this, this. Come on here, just kind of with this thing. Yeah. I am having line work issues today. I don't know. Coffee abuse. I've been meaning to finish my Starbucks. I like Starbucks. Starbucks coffee shop for a while. Since last year when I first introduced this coffee shop, I've been meaning to kind of finish doing the work on it because it's a funny joke and I like it. And I just haven't gotten around to it, and so this is a great excuse for it because I'm still kind of trying to think about the joke that I want to do here is not as solid as I want it to be. So I'm kind of doing the thinking of it, mulling it over while trying to finish the picture of this the Starbucks coffee here. So we're gonna color. Nope. There we go. We got ourselves a little table now. Dang it. All right. Putting in kind of this sort of I'm hand drawing some of this and then not hand drawing other pieces because I kind of like the idea of the ellipse. That's not what I wanted. The ellipse being from here. No, put on its little gimbals here. And it's got kind of a little shape going for it. Oh, that's the wrong. Dang it. All right. Because in the end, we still got to manage to. Actually, my purple might be a good one. Right. So kind of do that. That looks kind of okay, but I don't think that's the color we want. We're looking for everything here is in woods, and so I'm like, ugh, which is fine, but nothing wrong with that. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but something has to offset here. Right. So there we go. Going to black. The underside of the stools a little bit. There we go. Might. Anything could happen. I'm just saying. But having a coffee shop is very useful since our culture is very relatably connected to coffee shops. You know what I mean? So allowing us to have a coffee shop allows us to have coffee jokes, which always a plus. Always a plus. This. You have a little bit of just shadowing here. Usually, if you think about it, the shadowing is going to be from. Hey, it's Kim. The shadowing is going to come from the window. Hey, Can.
Hi, how's it going?
Oh, well, I'm trying to do shadows here is what I'm doing. I'm doing the shadows.
Uh-oh.
Just saying. Anything could happen. We've got shadows going.
Only the shadows know.
The shadow knows. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Brent, while you're on here, this week has to be dedicated to the driving school, just so you're aware. So you're prepared when I start working on driving school tomorrow. So
how are you this evening?
Doing fine. We went to Hexacon today, and we actually were talking about this earlier on Geek Tank. We had a game of Attack Wing Alliance that was a nail biter. Like, there were 4 of us trying to get out of a fight with 6 Jem'Hadar ships, and all 4 of us made it out with 1 hit point left, except for Kevin, who had 2 hit points. But I mean, like, And I was booking it out of there as fast as I could in an Akira class, and she's not fast. She's maneuverable, but she's not fast. So even, pedal to the metal, she's not going very fast. And I had a bug right on my butt, and he was determined. He really wanted me, and so it was like, oh god. So it was a nail biter. It was so good, such a good game. It's so fun. And Jackie, my buddy Jackie, she was like, this is what this game is all about. It was like that's what that game is all about. She's like, that was the game. So we were having so much fun. Oh, it was good.
That's
Anyway,
cool.
I it's tiny spaceships, and I love it. And because if nothing else, little teeny spaceships, they're just so much fun. But I have a very specialized set that I've made where the ship that I've got has a magnetic connector to connect to the post, and I made it. I took the magnets that I got have a rounded indent, and so you can get a ball and a magnet, so it sits on a pivot. So I love when I play the game, I'll bank my ship as it's doing its turns. I take the miniature and I'll bank it on its mount so that it looks like it's actually like banking into fight and stuff like that.
Nice.
And it's since it's a Star Trek game and stuff like that, I really, it's just so much fun. It was so good. And it was good to play with Jackie and stuff like that. So I have issues usually because we just can't get it takes 3 hours for each one of those. I completely agree, Bob. What we did was I actually don't use that model at all. I use a model from Amarillo Design Bureau's models. So I use one of the Constitution classes from ADB's Starfleet Battles models. But then I broke its warp nacelle, and I'm still mad about that. So I'm probably going to print me a new one at some point in time here. Yeah, Starline. The Starline 2500s. So it's the newer ones. So anyway, it was just fun. It's always nice to get in there and, because I know you're a minis player too. You just play a different minis game. But I know you're a minis person as well. So I know you love the same thing. There's something about tactile. You know what I mean? You're fussing with the minis. You move them. They move. They physically exist somewhere.
Yeah.
Really different about that. Well,
No, I get you.
yeah, I know. I know if anyone understands me, it's you. Because you played Bank
Absolutely.
Book, and I don't know how in the world you managed to pull that one off.
What?
You played the game that sucks all of your money away.
Which one? You need to be more specific here. There's been a lot.
I'm sorry to hear that, Donald. And you can take time. And I understand not wanting to say that during Geek Tank. Geek Tank is more broad. There's more people watching Geek Tank. Here it's just us. Just the folks in the duck pond. The folks in the duck pond and Can and me. But Can keeps always doing it where he's got the big screen.
I don't mean to.
I know you don't. That's why I'm harassing you for it. How'd you guess, Bob? Warhammer. Yes. So, Donald, take your time. We'll be here when you need us. If you want to come back and chat or talk to us, you can.
Yes. But take the time you need for you. Like,
Yes.
that's the big
Most
thing.
important, take the time for you. Oh, that's so sad. I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. Mortality has really been hitting me hard recently. I've been thinking about that a lot.
Yeah.
Ever since Dad passed, when Mom died, that was like the switch to the reality that you can die. You know what I mean? Like I started to realize that that was a plausibility that I could die because Mom did. But I was 29 at the time, so it was still kind of a little bit of a yeah, but I'm not gonna. Now I'm 50, and it's like, well, you got to be realistic here, guys.
Yeah, and I've
Well, and my friends, and I include you in this one, have had a lot of close calls. And we're starting
yeah.
to lose them.
And like the thing with my dad is
Okay, we'll see you around if you need to. If you need us,
yeah.
we're here. You don't have to talk, but you can join us, and we
Mhm.
won't prompt you until you want to talk about it. So just so you know.
Yeah.
But if you just want to be with friends, we're here. We're not going anywhere. So you can join us at any time and listen to us prattle on stupidly about drawing because that's what we do, and we're good at that.
Yes. But yeah, like with me, I finally, like the other day, I confronted one of the big hurdles with my dad passing that I'm still fighting, and
Mm-hmm.
that was I had saved his life so many times before from choking to death,
Right.
and I couldn't do it this last time.
I have been very worried about you specifically on that one point.
Yeah.
Knowing that that's something that has been in your, but I didn't know how to broach it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're working through that.
Yeah. And that's a tough one. It's like, there's a song, and it's called "The State versus Thomas Light," and it's by the Proto Men. It's a really good song, and uh, Thomas Light is standing before the court. He's waiting for the jury to come back with their verdict on whether or not he murdered his fiancée.
Mm-hmm.
And the chorus is singing "Not Guilty," and he's singing "I'm Guilty."
Yeah.
And that's been what I've been fighting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking about the ICE Middle Earth game, Bob? Sorry. We have like 3 or 4 different things. Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard. All of it's so ridiculously difficult.
Yeah.
Games Workshop, gotcha. I didn't know they did that either. Well, I'm glad you're working it through.
I'm trying. It's just, it's
It's hard.
slow and it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not something I can empathize with, but I can sympathize.
Yeah.
I had when mom died, I had dreams for months of being on the phone with her when she was dying, but I was like in Texas. So every time I tried to call 911, they kept routing me to Houston 911, not Denver 911. And so they couldn't figure out where I was talking about and where I was, you know what I mean? Like it was a
Yeah.
helpless thing. Like I couldn't get them to understand what was going on. I couldn't get them to you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. No, I get you.
that was brutal. So yeah. So anyway, I just want you to know I'm with you. Yeah. Oh man, those were. I still remember those dreams, and that was 20 years ago. And of course, this was. I was at my grandmother's house in the dream. I'm at my grandmother's house on the cell phone with my mom, trying to use her landline to call 911. That was part of the problem. So then I didn't want to hang up with mom because I knew she needed me to support her and stuff like that. But oh man, those were miserable dreams. Now I keep having dreams with dad that are different. Like my dreams with dad are very different and interesting. Like obviously I blamed myself for mom's death to some degree, but don't blame myself for my dad's death. And I guess that makes sense. You know, dad was older and we knew, you know, he was going downhill and he was very specific about this is my fault, not yours. You know, he was very, very specific. And my dad didn't want us taking that with us. All right. I moving right along to Starbots here.
Yeah.
Oh, Starbots is doing good. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, smaller than I expected it to be. That's not good.
Yeah, the big thing with Games Workshop stuff is it's super expensive if you do it for their role play game or their um, combat games, because their games are just so require so many models and they're so expensive. That what I've started to do is I've started to use them in role playing games,
Right.
so I could save money and not spend as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's useful. Maybe I want to grab as much of it on either side. Maybe that's a better idea. All right, we got snapping going on now. Hey, Melon.
Good evening, Melon. How's it going?
I don't think I understand being booped. If that is that a Twitch thing that I don't know about.
Boop.
I don't understand Twitch things.
No, it's have
Booping
you ever
your nose?
booped like your kid's nose or?
Oh, well, I mean, George does this every day. He gets up here and then boops my nose. So, I mean, I get that.
So same thing.
Same thing. I get this. This makes sense. This I can understand. I see. We have icons for it too. That's cool.
Yeah, it's easy to overthink things.
Also true.
So how'd the show go this morning?
No, it went fine. Bill got on here and we got into a really deep discussion about operating, like how companies operate and stuff. And I hope I didn't overrun him. I feel like I overran him, talked too much, because I'm notorious for that. So I feel bad. But
So what prompted the discussion?
going over to his place, because I was over at Pepper and Bill's place Sunday night, last night. I guess that was last night. Oh my God, it just feels like it was 100 years ago. So it was kind of, so we discussed it, and it was a thing that was interesting, and discussing that we were having this discussion about how to appropriately and properly tax people was one of the things we were talking about. It started with, I know somebody who's in politics, and like in a lower level, not like way up in Congress. And it was nice talking to her because I got kind of an idea of how politics works. And effectively, tax breaks are the carrot. The stick is making a law against it. And he said, well, that sounds like a government official, because really you shouldn't do either of those things. And I said, no, wait a minute. You've got Coca-Cola putting toxic chemicals into your river. If you can't give them a tax break and you can't give them a law, how do you get them to stop putting toxic chemicals in your river? And he actually had why don't you just have the state go over there and clean up the toxic chemicals out of the river? That's an interesting concept. I mean, he's like, you're going to have to pay for it anyway. Either you pay for it by cutting taxes, or you pay for it by sending police to arrest them, So either way, you're paying for it. You might as well pay for it by doing that. Oh, that's an interesting idea. But then on the way back, Mariah had made the comment of, well, yeah, but that just means that Coca-Cola is just going to leave it to us, the taxpayers, clean up their mess all the time, and every company will do that, and they'll just dump chemicals everywhere and then just expect the city to clean up everything. And I was like, okay, so Bill, how do you respond to that one? You know? And so it was just kind of cool. It was like going back and forth trying to wiggle this down, because I'm trying to come up with an idea for the comic. What do we do in Bellatrix Rising? How do I make that work in Bellatrix Rising that makes sense?
Yeah.
So it was just a thing that I thought was fascinating. And so really I think the part of the thing is that in Bellatrix Rising we have a completely different situation, which was something that my wife and I had kind of discussed. Because in Bellatrix Rising, we all banded together, had to build a dome. If you're putting out something that eats through the dome, well, then all of us get to die of suffocation, So, like, it becomes a big, quick problem that is now your issue in a big hurry. So, trashing the environment, that's not so good either,
Makes sense.
So, yeah. Which was an interesting idea. It was just kind of fascinating. I don't know. It was just kind of cool. But I feel like I talked over him a lot. I just didn't let him have a lot of time to. And I feel like I do that a lot to him, and I feel bad. And Winter Storm Warning, when does it say that is?
That is tomorrow starting at 5.
That's what
6 to 11 inches.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Snow. Yeah, I just had to deal with Mom having a freak out over that.
Man, this storm is ugly. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the same thing that's coming in from California, and California is still in it. Like LA, all of the LA area is under a winter storm warning. Santa Clarita is all the way up through Bakersfield, and Ventura is under a winter weather advisory. Wow. And even up through, I don't know where you are. What are you doing, you people? Up through, it's not out in San Francisco, but it is through Reno.
Hi, Cat.
Wow, that's brutal. Hey, Cat.
How are you this evening?
We're your peeps, and you are in the duck pond. It's the wrong size. Oh, yeah. I really want it at 25. I don't want it at 25, do I? Yes, I do. Oof. That's brutal. How long does it take you to do a page, Cat, typically speaking? You don't mind me asking? Hope you don't mind me asking, because I'm horribly curious. Like from blue line all the way through to ink, through rolling it out, because you're the only other person who, well, you're not the only other person, but like you're another manga artist, so in theory, I can figure out 8 to 10 hours per page. Okay. Okay. I always feel like I'm running too slow. And then I look at my final product and I feel like it's not the quality I want it to be. And so I feel like I should be able to do better. So I'm glad to hear other people take longer than me, but your artwork is far, far, far better than mine. So I feel like, okay, good. That means that I could probably spend a little bit more time, slow down a little, you know what I mean? Will not feel so bad. That works better for me too. Okay, I am getting control. I feel like this didn't turn out like I wanted it to. Yeah, I feel like I don't feel like I put enough detail in my comments. I feel like I need to do better. I feel like also 25 might not be my setting that I want on this. 15 looks like one. Indo too much. Yeah. Do you want to hop on? You can absolutely hop on. Do you know where the link is? Do you still have the link, or do I need to send it to you? Good, because I have like 7 billion questions always. As always, I have a billion questions. You know how that goes. There. I sent it to you via Facebook. So you can just join us. Join us.
Join us.
Right? There we go. Join you in. There we go. You're on board. Hello, welcome to the show. Oh, you don't have a microphone yet. Still waiting for you to get your mic going. It's all right. That takes time sometimes. If you're wondering, we still can't hear you, Kat. We'll tell you when we can hear you, though. Oh, we lost him. May need to rejoin, which is fine. I feel like over the years, Mike's head has gotten smaller. Not sure what that means. Back. Now let's see if we can hear you. We still can't hear you. And take your time on this one. There's no hurry here.
Yeah.
So whatever you need to do to fix it is cool. We'll wait. Always takes me a little longer to draw Martha and Mike. Not my... You tried all your mics? So it's all right. Down at the bottom there's a gear on the bottom of the page, or the bottom of the window or whatever. If you click that gear, it's usually configured weird. Like it configures to default to like your camera, which is fine for the audio, except that you're not running a camera. So I'll bet you that's what the problem is. Oh, you tried all three of them. And nobody heard anything. We did not. We did not heard anything. We were here. We noticed.
Yeah, we were excited. We were waiting.
We're waiting. It's all right. We'll get here. We'll figure it out. And you have a separate mic, yeah? If you're wondering, Kat's talking in our private chat. Okay. So let's see what I can do here. I don't think we've got you configured so that you cannot do anything. And you are turned up. He's not okay. We want you on the chat. We want you on the show. We like having you here. see. Can you switch to your camera? Do you have a camera, and do you have a camera mic? Oddly. Oh, you don't. Okay. That's fair. So you just... I like how you have 3 mics, though. That's funny. That cracks me up. Like, no cameras, but 3 mics. We're in. And I'm only chuckling because I actually am in pretty much the same condition. I've got microphones everywhere. And one of the things that Restream does is by default, like, starts out weird, like picking one of the random ones, like the microphone on the camera mounted over the workspace across the room. And so, like, I'll start the show and everybody will be like, "We can't hear you, guy." And he'll be like, "What? I'm right next to my microphone. My microphone's right here." And, "No, we can't hear you at all." And then I find out that Restream had just decided to pick the microphone across the room. It's like, that's nice. Thanks. Well, I don't know what to do at this point. Any ideas over there, Can? I don't think I've got anything. We've got everything configured properly over here. Or at least I think so. I can hear you. It's kind of a bummer because I mean, we're working on this whole thing of how long does it take you to eat something? I like to hear that it takes 8 hours because I feel like 3 hours is too long. And that's probably exactly why my pages don't look as good. And so it's because I'm not spending 8 hours on it like I should. Well, I don't know. Configure properly. Is there a gain function on your microphones by any chance, Kat? Like, do you have a... it's not muted down at the bottom by any chance, is it? Like, do you see the microphone being, muted or anything like that? I guess it's not. And Cat's working problem. Oh, well, then go ahead and do that for a bit and see what happens.
Oh, that's coming out nice. I like that. One of the things she could check is she could see if maybe an update turned off her mics.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how long it's been. I know that she spends a lot of time in meetings. So, like, I don't know how long it's been since the last time. I haven't updated recently. Oh, maybe. Working on an oh maybe. I like oh maybe. But yeah, I mean, part of it might be the microphones themselves may have turned themselves off for reasons.
So, have I ever told you the story about the the exciting new updates that I got when Windows 10 first hit?
No.
So it was like the second update. And it's like, hey, we have exciting new features. And I'm like, oh, I like exciting new features.
Right?
And I got done updating, and the exciting new feature was they completely removed my internet. And I had to spend the next 4 hours reinstalling the drivers to make my internet work.
I remember that update.
And then it got stuck, so every time it would update, it would remove my drivers. So I began to have an irrational fear whenever Microsoft says, we have exciting new updates for you.
Right? I hate to say this, but hey, Kat, have you been on a Zoom meeting with your company recently? Because one of the things I have noticed, sometimes Zoom takes control of the mics and then won't relinquish it to the browser. Google Meet, Google Zoom, Google whatever. Same principle. But if you've been, maybe a full reboot might not be a bad idea. We'll see you in a minute. We hopes you can join us because we loves you.
Yes. So the ugly thing that have you heard about what's happening with D&D?
Good morning or good evening, Jerry, and we will see you tomorrow. Good night. I mean, you mean the entire OGL thing, or are we talking?
Yeah, the entire. No, the entire OGL thing.
Yeah.
So now they're wondering. There's concern that they might have actually hurt the chances of the movie.
That's a thing. Would
Because
not
they were
surprise.
hoping the fans would really come out and support the movie.
Yeah, real quick. All right, we got OBS running. Can we hear you though? Not yet. We don't have you yet. But I do see OBS, which is great.
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
Wait, there you go.
There you are. We got you.
Hey. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was a reboot.
Yeah, I figured
Yay.
something had taken control of your mic somewhere along the line. It does it to me all the time too with Microsoft Teams. It walks off with my microphone. I'm like, no, I need that. Well, good. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes literally just turning it off and on again works. So here we are.
I believe I saw that in a TV show once.
Yeah, let me get Cool Studio open again. Oh my goodness. That's so silly that's literally all I had to do. I have the exact same settings. That's so funny.
Right? Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, like I said, I think sometimes it walks off with the microphone. Like Microsoft Teams or Google, they'll take away that and then you can't run it through OBS anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It is. Welcome to the show. Yay!
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff I gotta work on. Once I can get it open, I'll actually show you guys what I was working on. So it's opening. It's just gonna take a minute because it's like it's like 100 spreads, so it takes forever to open.
Right. So how have you been?
Oh man, so busy. So busy. Like I had at the end of the year. Well, first off, I had COVID in December, like the first week of December, like around the 3rd. So like I had to recover from that. And it was only like the first week of January I finally really had like the stamina to really start like drawing again for like more than like an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
Where I could like actually focus on drawing.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah. So I've been like scrambling to try to catch up to where I'm supposed to be. And so that means drawing a lot more than I normally do, and it's annoying and stressful.
Right. Wow.
I have like this whole page I have to get done today. This one on the left. I have to do all of that today, or as much as possible.
Right.
And then wherever I can of the other one.
Like I said, you were making me feel better. Know that.
Oh yeah, the time frame.
Your pages are so beautiful.
I do like thank you. I do like batch processing. So even though I couldn't do any inking while I was sick, I did a lot of sketches, and it's funny, you can tell which ones I did when I was sick because you know, like the ones near the top look kind of nice, and the ones at the bottom are just like they're like stick figure sketches, just because my brain just couldn't think. And you can see like, oh yeah, this looks great, and then blah, like you can see where the quality drops off because it's like COVID brain, come on, you can do it, and it's like, but I don't want to. I just want to sleep.
Let me sleep.
Yeah, and I did the same thing with, like, I actually added in 6 extra pages to this chapter, like, in the middle of the chapter. Right. So I thought about it, and I'm like, oh god, it's a plot hole. I have to fix this. And I was like, well, here's the perfect opportunity to show this character, Hokoi, like, actually get to introduce him. Because I originally wasn't going to introduce him until chapter 2. And I thought, no, this is the perfect opportunity to introduce him in chapter 1. That way we see all the main players. We see Zai, Amat, Aros, Hokoi, and Fale. Like, we get to see all the main characters in one. At least get to see them, even if like we don't know a lot about them. Right. And you know, I'm like, well, let's do this. And then it delayed me like 3 weeks. So now I'm even more behind. It's like, why am I doing this to myself? So, yeah.
Oh.
And then I went ham. I don't know if you guys have seen this particular page. I'll open the flat version and spare Clip Studio today. Like, find it. Where's that page? I did this one page and I like just went absolutely freaking bonkers like on the background. And I ended up having to go in and like get rid of a lot of it. Because I just went absolutely crazy on it. This was the first page that I did after I got better from COVID, and I felt like I was compensating.
Those are gorgeous.
I was looking at Berserk pages when I drew it, and that's probably why. So I blame Mira for it.
There you go.
Like, yeah, the first page I did after.
Those are beautiful, though.
Thanks.
Holy moly!
Yeah, I went in. Let me open the edit that I did. I took a lot of the detail out just because I'm like, well, I don't need all of this.
Right.
Hi, Quasar.
Oops. I think it's in this one. Let's see. Does this have all the changes? Yeah, it does. Okay. And then I'll just do like a comparison.
Wow.
So like here's basically the change that I made is I took a lot of this detail and I just made it solid black because it's not important information. We can tell what this is.
Uh-huh.
I took out a lot of the extra detail up here. I smoothed out some stuff up here, and I took some detail out over here as well. So like here's the new version. It's a lot more muted. Like I took a lot of the texture out. But it's still high enough contrast, I think. And if I need to add a screen tone here or there, I'll be able to do that and still have it be understandable. But this little waterfall in the back is from my favorite Berserk page, and I've been waiting to add some of these waterfalls. And now every time I do waterfalls, I'm gonna be adding waterfalls like this. It's like a little homage to Berserk because it's like my favorite page. It's beautiful.
Oh my goodness! I love how detailed this is.
I know, right?
I love doing backgrounds and stuff. It's my favorite thing to do.
Like the vine work underneath the bridge is just so beautiful.
It really
Thank
is.
you.
Like it sells the page.
I love backgrounds. I love backgrounds way too much. There's an interior of the building, like when he walks in. Same thing, like I just love doing backgrounds and stuff. Like when he walks in, there's like some stuff hanging, he kind of peeks in and then he walks in. Sort of like all this like really like I could have done more with this in the back, like in this area I could have done more. But I didn't yeah, exactly.
That barrel of water. Oh my god, look at that.
That actually was probably the easiest. I'm gonna be honest here. That's a brush. I'm really sorry to disappoint you, but that's a brush.
I believe it. I believe
I'm
it.
sorry.
You're not disappointing anybody, man. You're not disappointing. We're all like, we're all on board. This is beautiful.
I really liked doing like just the little hands here. They're like appearing behind him. I enjoy doing that, like that little detail, just way too much. And if you guys want like a little mini preview, like I'm okay with that. Let me zoom in here a bit more. So he sees this place and he walks in, right? So he walks in.
I agree.
Yeah,
Tessa's saying that ability to make a brush blend is a skill.
Oh, so thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like the biggest thing that like I'm really shy about is it's like, oh man, maybe people are gonna be mad at me because I blend in a lot of custom brushes. And the secret to what I do is I do a lot of erasing, a lot of mixing and matching. Like I'll use a brush, but I never use it straight up as is. I always edit it a lot. I'll erase things, or I'll take another brush that has texture and erase some of the texture. Like it's I may use like 2 or 3 brushes for one texture just because I want to vary it up to make it look a lot more natural. And I've done that for years. Like I've done that for years. And I don't think a lot of people have. This is phrased badly, but have caught on to it. Yeah. Because they're like, wow, that's so cool. And I'm like, oh, it's just custom brushes that I've figured out how to make look like I actually do it. But I try to disclaim that if people ask me.
I need to do more with brushes, because the ability to just do a stroke and you have like an entire chain drawn is so nice.
Oh yeah.
Rather than having to
I feel
draw
like
each of the links.
I feel like we get kind of hard on ourselves, which we don't need to. Like, for example, you know how I use the maquettes to set up the stage and everything like that in my drawings, and I always feel kind of embarrassed about it, you know. But yeah, I mean, like the chain brushes are so cool.
So like this is a really good example actually, is the rocks here that ends the sort of bottom panel here on the right is it's actually 3 or 4 different brushes, but what I did is I took a kakeyami brush, which is like the random cross hatching. It's called kakeyami. And I erased it. Like I just used it as an eraser to sort of erase certain parts. And I also used like the gauze cloud, which is in Clip Studio. It's the gauze cloud, and I just went in and like erased certain parts of it, and then went back in, found a brush that was the same thickness as the line art, and just randomly drew in like random hatching and like random lines. And there you go. Like it's a customized texture that has been randomized and erased enough to look not like its original thing. But still has like enough of the original texture that it still looks original. Like it still looks believable. Same thing with the lines over here. Let me actually open this. Let me actually open the flat version of that one so you can see it. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. Oh, that'd be why I couldn't find it. I was like, where is it? Here we go. This is another really good example. Up here, like where these rocks are. Actually get a layer made here and I'll actually highlight it all. It's like up in this area. That's basically, you can actually see what I did here. This is all original. But if I zoom in enough, you can see like right here and right here, I added in some lines and they're a little different. Same thing here. I erased a lot of it here and just drew in some random scribble. But because it's background art, you're gonna see the page like this big. Most readers aren't gonna notice, especially if you're on a phone. Like even if you zoom in to 50%, you're not gonna notice it. This is actually 25% of final size for me. I draw it much larger than this. But most people aren't gonna notice all of those really fine details. And you're like, with backgrounds, you just want to suggest the background. You don't have to draw every single rock, every single crack, every single line, every single shadow. Just suggest it, because they're going to spend half a second looking at it. One of the really, really cool things about Global Comics is
I'm feeling attacked, Cat, because I do that.
Oh, I do it too. I love backgrounds, and so like I'll stare at people's backgrounds. Like I hate to say I judge people on their backgrounds sometimes, and that's not a good thing to do. It's a habit I'm breaking. But one of the things that I've noticed is, with Global Comics, one of the analytics you get is how long people spend on a page. And one of the things that I've learned is my readers spend on average 40 to 70 seconds on a page. And if you divide that roughly by how many panels, like let's say they spend the middle, which is 55 seconds on this page. I have 6 panels. That's less than 10 seconds a panel. So like how detailed do I need to make it for 10 seconds? Or 11, not that many. Like it doesn't need to be that big, doesn't need to be that detailed. But that tells me, am I adding too much dialogue? Am I adding too much detail? Is it slowing down the story too much? If someone's spending a whole minute on a page, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm kind of trying to lessen the detail a little bit, because I don't want to delay the reader any and make the story feel slow just because the art's detailed. Yeah,
because each panel acts as it's a moment in time. And so if you want to hold a beat for a little longer, you make the panel bigger or you make it smaller, and that you can control the beats of how long a person is staring at a panel. So I totally get where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, in manga that's komawari. Komawari is what they call that. I'm gonna write the word out in case anyone wants to look that up.
Komowari.
Komowari. Komowari.
There we go. So it's not komo, it's koma. Okay.
Koma. Sorry, like my
No, it's all good.
accent's awful.
Totally fine. I'm not even. But I mean, that brings a different word to my brain.
Yeah, it's funny though when I'm speaking with my Japanese friends, like my English speaking friends, my friends who hear me speak English, they're like, your voice changes so much when you switch into Japanese mode. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm really sorry. Like, I almost get mumbly.
You get mushy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they speak so fast. I'm just trying to fit in.
Right. Right. Well, and that was the thing I was noticing. I was talking the other night to a buddy of mine, and she was just going on about where I was in Japan and the speed that she was talking at, and I'm like, it's been so long that I was just like, I've got to ask you to slow down. I am so sorry, man. And she was like, that's cool, just it's fine. But it's just still, it's like, it's that same thing. It's like I was talking to her, and she was like, you don't need to use that level of language. I'm your buddy. I'm your friend,
Yeah, I do that still.
I got all stuck into the masus and the desus and things like that.
Yeah, the formal stuff. That's the group that I hang out with. They're and I've told you about this group before. They're the like assistant dojo people, where like he's like the lead assistant, and he divvies out all of his assistants to all the smaller projects. And so it's technically a work environment, and it's so fascinating to listen how different people talk to each other based on what the ranking within the studio is.
Yeah,
and I can pick that out, and it's fascinating. Because when Sensei's not there, everyone talks differently.
yeah.
All the te and like te casual everything.
All the slang comes out.
Yeah. Suddenly he's back, and it's like, wakarimasu. Wakarimasu.
They start with like wakata, and then and you're like, and then they kind of go back in, wakarimasu. Yeah.
That's what everyone says, that I speak super formally, and like my excuse to them is I don't actually work for you guys. I'm just a guest, so that's why I'm speaking formally. But if we're on a first name basis, because everyone we're all on a first name basis, and so I'm like, okay, I must have permission,
right?
To be super formal, or to be super casual. And that's the part that really shocked me, is you hear so much about the formalities, and everyone's like, Atsu-san, and I'm like, wait, you guys use his first name? He's your boss and you use his first name?
Yeah. I mean, like,
it was just like this, the way I thought it worked, and now actually getting to be actively listening and like immersed in the workspace. And also like Otsukare-sama desu versus Otsukare-sama deshita, like learning all like the sort of like formal hellos, goodbyes, and greetings, and itarashai, like I'll be right back, or like learning all the different phrases, and I'm like, there's so many words.
Got it. Right?
And like,
let's got it.
Yeah, it's got it. Yeah, exactly. Like everyone's like, it's okay, Kat. You can just say it's got it. Like it's fine. And then there are times where everyone will say "Otsukare-sama" like this, and I'm like, when do you know which to use which one? So I usually wait until someone else says something, and then I say what they say.
It was particularly funny for a while there. Apparently, I had somewhere between the principal and a junior high girl as my Japanese structure. And one of my friends was just laughing at me, and she's like, you sound like somewhere between the principal and a junior high girl. And I'm like, you know who I was hanging out with. Because all the girls, for some reason, were really good at English, and so they would all join the English extension clubs. So I would always end up with like 6 girls and 1 guy.
Oh.
And so it was, I ended up picking up the girl slang. You know what I mean? Like I would pick up, not the guys slang because they weren't. So for a while there, I was doing things like atashi and stuff like that.
I've done that. Yeah, I've actually caught myself using atashi.
Yeah. Like,
or what? Atakushi.
Yep.
And I was like, oh shit, no, wrong word.
Yeah, watakushi. You don't need that one.
No, I don't. That's like super fancy. It's like, cat, you don't need that one. Yeah, it's funny how like the people that I'm talking to, like how it like influences, or how the people that's around, how it influences everybody. And just to like try to figure out like why the shift has occurred and like what's going on, and here's the really crazy part. They're working on, like, while I'm in there, like, no one, like, there's no stream or anything. We're just all chatting. They're working on things like Naruto, Hunter x Hunter. Like, they're working on, like, big titles. And we're all just sitting there chatting with each other. And it's like the coolest.
I'm in here with a bunch of you guys, and you guys are really doing real stuff. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's so scary, dude. Like half the time I'll sit there and I have to coax myself to actually go into the chat because I feel like such an interloper, and I'm like, oh god, like they're not gonna like me there. And I actually had one of them reach out to me and go, "Hi, Kat, how are you doing? Are you okay? We haven't heard from you in a while. We're wondering where you are." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just nervous and scared because I'm not real like you guys are."
Right.
The other thing that's been really interesting is the Manga Plus competition. They've had a few serializations, but it's not. I don't think any of them have been English.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're gonna announce the December or November winners here really soon, if they haven't already.
That makes sense.
And people,
by all of these things, I'm like talking about all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, I have so much information, both useful and useless.
Right. Well, that's important. Having useless information is so cool.
Bananas are berries, and so is watermelons. And cucumbers and pumpkins and tomatoes.
That's funny. It's true. It's true.
Yep. Peaches are roses.
Peaches are roses.
They are.
That's true. I hadn't
so
thought
apricots, quinces. Strawberries, crab apples, all apples, technically.
Yeah, I just never thought of it. You're not wrong.
Surprise.
It's like not one of those things I'd ever really thought of, but you're right. Yeah, okay.
Like I said, all kinds of useless information.
Yep.
So, how much scripting goes into your, like, do you do the breakdown that we've been doing with the page for an issue?
What do you mean? Scripting as far as, like, do I do an actual written script, or do I just do my,
like this? Like the little thing that,
that I invented.
Guy developed.
I feel like I missed something.
It's on the screen, so.
Oh no, I don't do that. That's not how I script.
Okay.
Nope. I can show you my really ugly scripting method though. Let's see. God's name scripts. I'll take a screenshot and I'll throw it in a Clip Studio. It's so, like, unconventionally dumb. It's so basic.
Like, we all script differently.
Yeah, it's just, it's actually really interesting. We actually had this discussion in the Global Comics Discord recently about like how people script. Hang on, let's see, file. There we go. So this is how I script, guys. This is how I script. I have the page number, and then I have my estimated number of panels. And I mark which one's right on which one's right side, which one's left side, and then any captions are marked in blue, any random notes are marked in yellow, and that's it. That's it. And these are estimates.
Wow.
Like that's how I script. And I do that for every single page. When I start though, I start in paragraph form. I just worry about like if I'm starting with a volume, for example, I'm scripting volume 4 right now. It's just one giant long paragraph of just summaries of like general things that I want to happen. From there, I'll break it down into chapters, like what I want to be in each chapter. And then from there, I'll try to break each chapter down into about 20 pages. And then from 20 goes into 5 or 4 easily. Sometimes I'll do 16. That way it's 4 because Kishoten Kits is in 4 parts. So sometimes I'll start with 16. Sometimes I'll start with 20 if I feel like it's going to be a longer chapter, and then that's it. From there, I just define each page. So I just whittle it down until I get from super vague concept of what I want the volume to be to super vague concept of what I want the chapter to be, just to super vague concept about the page, and then break it down by panel. And it's all rough estimates. Like my dialogue always changes, the exact paneling always changes. Like I have to come back into my script and write what I actually did, so that as I'm scripting, I can do that. And then what I do is after this stage, I come in and I'll show you like an actual first page. So like this is what I'll do after I do my script, is I'll have like a rough estimate of what I want in the actual panels and where I want the text to be, because I have a written script. I don't have to write out all the text. Just a rough estimate of where I want it, what type of bubble I want, the placement. And then I clean the sketches up. So these don't really count because they're reusing old pages. But like something like this is cleaned up a bit more, and this is ready to ink. Like I can ink from this. And that's also what the page I'm working on now is it's a set of sketches that are ready to be inked. So I actually have scripting, rough, cleaning, ink, and then toning and lettering go together.
Gotcha.
So it's a more extensive process, and I'm hoping to go from 2 sketching phases down to 1 eventually. But I feel like for right now, it benefits me to take the second look. That's why I have to. It's not because I need it. I'm forcibly saying, hey, I'm going to do a second sketch phase just to double check everything after I've looked away from it for a while. So yeah, that's the strategy that I take.
And I've kind of a similar process, but like for mine, I've got these are set up so that they have the pages set up in panel groups or page groups. I mean, so like this is a right, and then a left and a right, and then a left and a right. And I know what I want roughly, what's going on in the scene, so I'll write them in here on a layer. And then as you can see later on, I'll rough them in. And so like I'll get an idea of what roughly I want in this set up. But even like here, I don't know what I'm going to have over here, right? But then I know like I want a large splash sort of thing, and another large splash here, and sort of that kind of thing going on too. So it's the same kind of thing. One of the things I like to do is, for me, I want sort of that arc of first, second, third act going on in all my stories. So I like to hit these points where we have peaks. Like here's peak 1 is right there, and then peak 2 is that's a low point. So that cruises to the splash, right?
Yeah.
The splash at peak 2, right here. And then we move through to the lowest point of the story here, right? And then move to peak 3 here, and then we're out for the issue, right through here. So, I mean, kind of a
interesting.
there was a mangaka that used to live in Hawaii, and now he's back in Japan. But he was doing little like manga school things, and he had this arc of the three peaks and how all manga sort of follows these three peak arcs with peak 1, peak 2, lowest point, peak 3 sort of thing. So like a rally, that last piece. So that's so I built these pages with that design. So it's kind of like up here in music. And I use this to sort of give me an idea of how many panels I want in each page. Because I use panels to indicate speed, like intensity. So the more panels I'm putting in there, the more intense I want the scene to be. So this is just a guide of, one panel here and then like 2 panels-ish, give or take, 3 panels. You can see we're kind of building up through here to the peak where we're up here in the 4 to 5 panel range. So it's kind of what that music reads like. And then it goes back down to here, back into the normal. It's not really one panel, but I'm just trying to show sort of the intensity. How intense are we right here through the zone? And right here is story arc, so it's not very intense.
Yeah, this is sort of what I had learned was you have like rough panels in the beginning, which are lesser panel counts, and then you have the dense, which is where you have the different fluctuations. And then you have like a rough at the end, like a consistent rough at the end. The dense where it kind of varies based on like the action, the moment, where you might need to slow down, to like emphasize a moment or something. Berserk does it all the time. And then this is North Star does it too. And then I forget what the other one is. And then you have like rougher pages. So like these are like higher counts on average. These are lower counts. And then the same thing over here. This is what I learned when I was learning about like Komawati and like how all that stuff works. So that's crazy. That sounds almost really, really similar to what I learned. So sounds like we learned the same thing in different ways. So that's really cool.
Oh, yeah. That's what I figured. I figured it was something similar.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard it phrased the way that you did, though. And that makes way more sense.
Yeah, so, and I've been trying to kind of fit it with the 3-act structure too while we're at it, because that's a very American style. So, and I'm fused somewhere in between. So I kind of get
I go with 4. Definitely try to do the 4-part act every chapter.
Yeah.
So I'm like totally different from both of you guys.
Of course.
Ooh.
So from I kind of learned this from.
By the way, Melvin's making a note to you, by the way.
Yeah, I saw.
Okay, good.
What is his name? The guy that did Earthworm Jim.
Oh.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Shoot.
So, he describes that when he scripts, he will do a 3. He'll take the book and he'll go, okay, it's this 3 parts. Boom, boom, boom. Here's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And then he'll break that down, and for each one, he'll do a 3-part to it. So it goes beginning, middle, and end. And then he'll take that out even further and go beginning, middle, and end. And by the time he's done, each section has 27, or each part, there's a total of 27 cards total that he has expanded it out to.
Wow.
And so I've been writing in that kind of way. So like when it comes to an issue, I'll break it down into using the 5 panels. I'll have a kind of a big idea of what I wanted, and then I'll break it down from there on taking this and scripting it out. So each 5 panels is part of this arc for this issue, and I have a general idea for the issue, of what I want to happen, and then I'll break it down from there.
No idea.
So, and it's totally different from you guys. I don't know if it works or not, but it works for me. So
that's what matters, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, really, it doesn't matter how we do it. I'm really kind of not trying to convince either one of you. I'm just doing this so that it's recorded. You know?
Yeah.
How do I do it versus how does Kat do it? You know what I mean? Like, that's more important to me. And it's, just that it's recorded somewhere so that we all know. So that if somebody else can watch it and say, oh, yeah, that's useful for me.
So, like each issue, I have a general idea for each issue, but I also have an idea for the total arc of my story. So I know how this is going to end, and I know what beats I'm looking for.
Right.
That makes sense, yeah. Yeah, that's why I start out pretty vague at first, and then over time I get like more consistent or as far as like more defined over time, just so that I can make sure that like the story looks the way that I want it to, hitting all of like the big important moments. Hi Melon, I don't come here super often. I'm like crazy all over the place. I've actually been sick for like the last month and a half. I've also been doing freelance and NDA work for a while, so I'm just now getting back to my own content, so I'll probably be joining in more often. But hi, I'm Art Crumbs. I make a manga called God's Vein.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'm feeling better. Yeah, I had COVID in the first week of December, and I'm finally like back to drawing again, so I'm definitely way feeling better. Nice. Doing chibis and emotes is so difficult for me. I admire people that can do that because like simplifying things down to make stuff really cute is super difficult for me. So it's always impressive when people can like do that. I over detail everything. It's a gift and a curse.
So one of the things I had discovered was that there is what they call the scene wheel. I'll do control for just a second here, where you've got you enter the wheel on the goal, conflict, disaster, reaction, dilemma, and then decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is the scene and sequel wheel, which is like a classic way of setting up a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to think about whenever, because you were talking about the author of, or not.
What is this called?
Can. This is just called the scene wheel. How a scene is structured, like for novels and stuff like that. Just to make sure that your scene doesn't ramble. Because my problem, always, is that I will ramble. I will just continue a scene forever, and then I realized that I didn't need it. I didn't need to go for 6 pages on this scene because all they needed was these things. So I use this to check the points. What's the character's goal? They want something. What is it? What is the goal of the scene? The character needs X. What's the conflict? The character can't get X because of this thing. Sometimes people go through the disaster, reaction, dilemma, and decision because you don't really need the disaster, reaction, dilemma usually. But you can do goal, conflict, decision. And, character A walks into a room, talks to character B, needs character B to, push the widget, and character B then has to decide whether they're going to do that or not. And when they do, either they do or they don't. But you can also have character B has decided not to push the button, and then they get mad, and then there's an argument about it. Then ultimately the decision is made to push the button, and that's what this disaster, reaction, dilemma is. But it's just called the scene wheel. It's like the classic structure of a scene.
So, Tess, to answer your question, I am very character focused, but I write for the plot first, and then I throw throw my characters at it. And I have my characters reacting to it. Like, if they're living enough in my head, they will tell me how they would do things, if that makes sense. But I also keep things very structured. It's like, this is going to happen. What is your reaction? So I bounce between plot and character focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of the storytelling involves that kind of thing. Let's put us all the same. There we go. Part of storytelling is, what do you? It starts with that old man versus man, man versus nature, man versus, man versus himself structure. Because I don't know. Isaac Asimov used to talk about the fact that characters were useless, and his stories are a little flat. Clarke disagreed firmly with that, Arthur C. Clarke, and said that the characters were the vehicle to tell the story. For my point of view, of course, I'm a science fiction writer, so I usually start with, wouldn't it be interesting if you could go back in time and, kill your own grandfather? Like that would be the start of my thought process. Then it's, how do I make the characters go back in time and kill their own grandfather? So with science fiction, you're kind of operating in a different way because it's not a lot of, but then as I started writing Bellatrix Rising, I started coming up with all of these side stories that were fascinating with the idea of a character interacting with another character. And that became a different feel. So, now we've got, talking about an event or something between characters. So that's kind of a different thing. I don't know. Where are you, Kat?
As far as
character or plot?
This is always interesting.
Collective. Yes.
Let's see. As far as like where I put the most emphasis on, I feel like it's definitely it's hard because I take the same approach that Mira does in the sense that I really like to have the characters react. So the character there was something that I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this. There was a movie called The Kingdom of Dreams and Madness. It's a documentary about Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli making The Wind Rises.
Yes.
It's my favorite documentary ever. And there's there's a line that Miyazaki says, draw will even if fate exists. And to me, that means that you always want to focus on character first. You want to focus on not like the character's will, their desire. What do they want? What would they do? Don't do what makes the story better, because sure, that might make for a better story, but to me, that's sort of disingenuous to your own characters and forcing them to do something just because this makes the story better. Now, a really, really good writer could make it do both, but that's extremely difficult because we all know people like certain things more than others. We know what people tend to like. I would rather go with what the character wants and the character needs and the character's wishes and goals over what I feel would be a better plot. It's like Godspeed is a perfect example. There's this is a little bit of a mini spoiler alert, but there's a lot of really bad events and there are some character deaths and people are probably going to be angry at me when it happens.
Right.
It's going to happen. Also plot armor. I hate plot armor. I hate it so much. And they're especially with the worst thing, this makes me the most angry whenever I watch a show and too many shows or too many manga do it. At the end of the show or the manga, the main character gets away with any crimes 99% of the time. If they've done anything against the law, oh, well, you've saved us all. We'll forgive you. Not in my manga. Not in my manga. Aro still gets his punishment for all the horrible things that he does. So he may be the main character. You have your happy little ending or whatever, but then reality sinks in hopefully a satisfying way. like all of my characters suffer on their own as well, which is also something that's really hard for people, is they don't like realistic stories where people suffer. They're like, I'm not, like, a lot of the people I've spoken to about it have said, I don't think I'd like that story because that sounds sad and that sounds depressing. And I'm like, yeah, but everybody you know has their own struggles. They just don't want to talk to you about it. And to me, that's reality. Like, people suffer, people have things that they're going through, and I want to portray that. I want to remove the stigma that it's bad to have characters that have actual emotions and the things they stress about and the things they worry about, even if they're like, I hate seeing characters that are happy all the time because that's so unrelatable and unrealistic. I want my characters to be human beings, not devices to make a better story. Like, I want them to have their own life, you know. And if that means that they're sad and depressed about something, so be it. I'm an observer. I'm not forcing them to be a certain way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing with this story that I'm working on is, at first it's going to be, oh, everything's happy and working out, and I'm working towards what was originally my first beginning. Mm-hmm. And when I hit that point, it's like, oh god, no, stop, no. And it's gonna completely change people's perception of what this story is about, because this story is going to be about grief and about reconciling someone who is so badly damaged that they are literally going through hell to save themselves. And I find that to be more of an interesting arc than everything's happy and, oh, look, everything worked out in the end, and, you know, yeah, tens of millions of people died, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I hate that storytelling.
Yeah, with Aros, the main character, like, he's not a hero in the beginning. He's awful. He literally, like, the first thing, what he does in chapter 1 is he basically starts killing an entire village, and he's the main character. He's the main character. This is like one of the first things you see him do is you see him like give the soul off to like this small little bird, and then he goes off and he's talking about killing all these people in a village and doing all these horrible things, and you're like, dude, what the frick is with this guy? And like over the beginning of the second chapter, like it's revealed why like he's doing that. And then over time you have Hokue, which is his student. And Hokue is basically Aros's foil character. The way I've written my story is I have 4 main characters. I have the hero, the main character, who's not really a hero. He's more of a Byronic anti-hero. And then you have his
anti-hero. I like that already.
Yeah, Byronic anti-hero, right? It's crazy. You have Aros, right? That's him. And then you have his foil character, which is Hokue. Hokue is everything he should be. He's the complete opposite of Aros in almost every single possible way, except they study magic and they help people. And that's the ironic thing about Aros. He's a healer and a killer. Why? Because of the goal that he wants, he has to kill people to be able to do that. And so he lives this literal double life. He's on the fence. Hokue's watching him and going, what the frick is your problem? That's not what you're supposed to be doing. But at the same time, he's complicit because he's studying under Aros and he knows all the things that Aros is doing. So he has this perfect example of what not to be. And then the other 2 characters, you have the character that represents the lie, which is like the opposite of truth, right? It's whatever the truth is of the story is like the theme, what people like, the moral you're trying to teach, that kind of thing. You have the character that's the complete antithesis, antithesis, whatever the word is for that. Yeah, thank you. I can't English today. You have the character that's like the pure opposite of that, which is Amat. He's sort of like the antagonist. He's the bad guy here. And then you have his foil character, which is the truth, the thesis, the theme, like represents everything that should be. But so she's fully enlightened, except Aros isn't. but Aro's, so it's a really interesting like writing structure that I learned about, where you have 4 main characters in that sort of format, and it has been really, really cool. I'll have to figure out if I can remember the name of it. I'll have to ask my copy editor who's helping me, because she was the one who suggested it, and I'm like, dude, this sounds so freaking cool. Like, I love this. Like, let's do it. And so we've been working on that. And yeah, that's kind of how I set that up, based on like what the character's needs are, and like, is the character, do they rise, do they fall, do they get more corrupted, or do they get closer to the truth, and disavow the lie? Some characters do and some characters don't. And that's the other thing. Like, you don't have to fix people. You don't have to make sure all characters have happy endings. You don't have to make sure all characters, like, get resolved. Like, that's the fun thing about my manga, is the villain isn't who you actually think it is. Like, there's a climax, but that's not the actual climax.
Well,
I think everyone is going to think that that's the climax. And surprise, motherfucker, there's like 2 volumes left after that.
Right. But I think that in a way, then it's what we've got is the same structure. I mean, going through the classic structure, you're just doing man versus man that's kind of hidden under, or man versus himself, but it's hidden under man versus man. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And mine's man versus environment. So it becomes a different structure, because in my structure, of course, all of my characters have goals. They all have, problems and things like that I will be doling out a little bit at a time throughout the story arc. So, like, because this is more like what Star Trek does. Each episode is about a Kirk and Spock and McCoy all beam down to this planet to solve this thing, right? But you still need to know that Spock is going to be struggling with his human half, and stuff like that. So there's always like subplots involved in there. So I structuring the story in that same way. But of course, I agree with you. I don't want this to be, at the end of every episode, everybody's fine again. Because that's silly. That's like a 60s trope. Yeah. But the newer Star Treks, like especially like Strange New Worlds, they're doing every episode is self-contained. However, so I guess Cat's cat is there. Yeah, that's Miso. I'm sorry. That was Miso.
That was
Hi,
Miso.
Hi, Miso. What's up? Want to come say hi?
So Miso's good, because the last time we talked, Miso wasn't doing so good.
Oh wow! How long ago was that?
It's been a long time.
Was that about August?
Yeah.
So she had her cancer scare, and it cost me about $900 to get her tested. To get the mass removed and to get it tested, and it was it was a tumor, but it was benign.
Okay.
Yeah, you tell him.
Melon's got a cat named Mochi, so we've got Mochi and Miso, and then George, wherever George is.
Yeah, she actually got really, really, really lucky, because the area they pulled it from is like sublingual, and usually that's squamous small cell, and she got very lucky that it was not. So you're very lucky, Miso. Yeah.
Yeah.
She knows it. She's spoiled as hell. She's got 2 teeth left now. They went ahead and pulled the rest of her teeth as well.
Oh,
she kept getting
kitty.
too many infections in her teeth. She's got like her gums reject her teeth. It's like an autoimmune disease. Ooh. And so she's slowly getting all of her teeth pulled. She's got 2 left. And they're her front teeth. Yeah, she's got. She's so funny when she meows, because the only teeth she has left are the 2 canines on her right side. That's it. That's all she has left. Like the 2 eye teeth. That's it.
Oh man,
so she looks really, really silly, and I have to groom her manually now because she doesn't have like that she's losing her jaw structure because she's losing her teeth, right? So when you pull the teeth out, you lose bone density.
Yeah.
She's starting to lose control over the muscles attached to those bones. And so I have to help her groom herself, and then I have her professionally groomed as well. Because she's a long hair cat. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work keeping her groomed, so she's a handful. She hates the brush. I haven't found the brush she likes yet. So I just have the pros do it. I'm like, she likes you guys. They never have a problem with her. They're like, we don't know why she likes us, but she likes us. I'm like, okay, cool. You guys can do it.
Who might argue? Right?
Right.
Tessa's trying to get into the shower. but the cat keeps summoning her back.
Oh, Miso does that. If I don't let her in the bathroom when I get in, she will stand outside my bathroom door and scream. She screams. She doesn't meow, she screams, looking for me. And so I put her in the shower, and then she screams. I put her in the bathroom just while I shower, and then she cries to get out.
Right? That's a cat.
Typical cat. Typical nonsense. Yeah. Demon child. Heaven forbid she gets wet. She's like a freaking, what are those things? Gremlins?
Yeah.
Don't get her wet. No, seriously, I occasionally give her baths, because of her fur issues. So occasionally I do have to give her a bath. And her screams were so loud and sounded so human. The person next door came over to ask if I was okay. And I'm like, no, that's just my cat. And they're like, what do you mean? And so I went and picked up Miso, and she was still wet. And I'm like, I had to give my cat a bath. And they're like, I thought that was a human screaming. I'm like, no, it's just a cat.
So the same thing. So I have an alpaca story.
Uh-oh.
Alpaca will scream, particularly if they don't like something.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like a woman screaming in distress. Even if it's a male alpaca, it sounds that way.
Interesting.
So during shearing time, when it comes time to remove a lot of them get very, very screamy.
I can only imagine the trouble that causes.
And so one of the people that we know, they had to get the alpaca sheared. Well, they had new neighbors come in who had never heard an alpaca screaming. And they thought a woman was being murdered next door, so they called the police.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm thinking.
Imagine trying to convince a police officer, no, it's just an alpaca, I promise.
I promise, it's my alpaca.
Well, no, they could see the alpaca screaming, but still, they had to come out and do a health check and find out, no, it's just animals. They're not being abused.
That's so funny.
Even though they think they're being abused.
George! Hi, George!
Yeah, George is just hanging. I think he's hearing Miso.
Oh,
so
maybe.
Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to come up here and get in the way and be a pest.
He's like, who's that lady cat that I hear?
Yeah. Such a goofball. This is his new thing, is to just get up here and then stand in front of my screen so I can't.
Miso does that. She'll actually like jump on my table and sit between me and the drawing tablet. I'm like, honey, I can't get any work done this way.
Yeah. I figured that's where I am. I'm just not getting any work done now. Although he does, at some point in time, he'll come over here and lick my nose. It's so weird. And somewhat uncomfortable. It's really weird when you do that. I'm just saying. I want you to know that. Like, you don't care, do you? Because you're a George. You do who you do. Yeah. Such a weird cat. He's like, so here I will be, because this is where your attention is. So clearly I will just be right here, being a weirdo.
I've heard that if you give cats a mini laptop, like a play laptop for kids, they'll actually hang out with the laptop instead of you.
You think so? Did you do that?
That's what I've heard. I haven't tried it with Miso yet. But that's what I've heard.
Laptop, would you be into that?
Put on bird videos for him. That'll get him for hours.
That's the only problem with the night streams, because usually during the day he'll sit back here because he can look out this window and he'll watch the squirrels. But at night he can't see the squirrels, and the squirrels are asleep anyway. So,
Right, Tessa? I want in the room. Let me in. Oh wait, it's water. No, let me out. Definitely, that's Miso.
Okay. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left.
All right.
We're gonna
Let's see how much of this one I can get done.
If you want to join us tomorrow too, I'll be up at 9. I'll be on at 9 Mountain. With it at 7 your time, I think.
9 p.m.
No, 9 a.m.
Oh yeah, I might be able to. Tomorrow will not be a good day because I have an article due out tomorrow.
That's fine.
I could do tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow
and
night.
then
I'll be on tomorrow night. You can join us anytime.
Wednesday I probably won't be because I have the Global Comics Town Hall Wednesday, and I run the Global Comics account during the town halls, and so I'm always just freaking exhausted by the time it's all done.
I was going to ask you. Thanks, Melon. We're not leaving just yet. We've only got a couple minutes left, though. I was going to ask you, Global Comics, does it auto post to Reddit?
No, it's all manual posting.
Oh, because somebody posted Bellatrix Rising out to Reddit for me, and that was very sweet. To r/science fiction.
Oh, yep, that was probably one of our manual posts.
That's sweet. I was just that's cool. Thank you very much.
Actually, what day was it?
Way back when, like maybe August.
Oh yeah, that was me.
Not August.
That was probably me. But I showed your comic to Kevin, my supervisor, because he's the big sci-fi guy, and he liked it. And I don't know if we featured it recently again. I think we might have. I'd have to double check.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate it.
But yeah, we go around and we actually post we post I think like 10 comics every day. Because we want to get eyes on our creators, and it helps them and it helps us, and it makes them feel good, makes us feel good. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I
need to start posting again. I stopped because I was running into a lot of life issues.
No, that's fine.
And then I finished issue 4, but I think I'm on issue 3 on that, so I need to catch up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then I'm working on issue 5 here, so
the nice thing about Global Comics is the way we have our algorithm set up is it doesn't look at just how often you've posted. I mean, we do have like an updated algorithm for that, as far as it's called updated. But a lot of the top comics for the end of the year did not update every week or even every month. We've set it up so that popularity doesn't mean how many views you have. It means everything from all engagements. Whether it's likes, views, comments, even just being added to a list counts. It literally looks at all of the different engagements creators are getting, and then it weighs that against how recent it's been, depending on what the time frame is the person who makes the filter sets. And it looks at everything that's been popular within that time frame. And that's basically like how our version of popularity works, because we understand that not everyone is a professional in terms of that's the only thing they do.
Right.
And so yeah, that was definitely something we're conscious about. Like even me, I haven't updated since August, and I made 1st in fantasy and 5th overall.
Yeah,
yeah, Global Comics does not promote me at all because it's a conflict of interest issue. They don't promote me at all. as far as like sharing me on Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, like nothing. They don't promote me at all, other than if I make like an algorithmic list where I actually show up in the algorithm. That's the only time they do it, and it's something that's out of their control. That's just what the algorithm is saying is doing well. And I've just been really active on Reddit and Twitter. In fact, I have a series of self-promotion articles that I wrote. It's a set of 4. And literally the article I'm posting tomorrow is about how to promote yourself on Reddit.
Nice.
So I'll make sure you get to see that, okay?
Yeah, because
sounds good.
Because we did a little seminar. You were here once, and we did a little seminar where you talked about putting things on social media. And I just ran across those pages a couple of days ago. And,
oh yeah.
And I was
the self-promotion tips and tricks articles.
Yeah, and so I was like talking about that kind of stuff, and I was thinking about it. I was like, crap, I kind of want Kat back on here to talk about it in a while. So that's perfect.
That's actually what we're talking about in the town hall tomorrow is marketing and self-promotion. So, or not tomorrow, Wednesday.
I'm so bad at it. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's literally the goal, is to kind of catch up with everything we did in 2022. Talk about the upcoming app release, which will probably be sometime within the next 2 or 3 months, probably. We're aiming for Q1 for sure, so the app will hopefully be launched by the end of the quarter.
So an app so that we can read the comics on our phones?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yep, like full, like, oh my god, like I have gotten like some preview of the app. It's so freaking amazing, the reader experience. Holy shit, like even like I can't share too much obviously, but it's one of those things I cannot wait to use it. I think as far as quality, like reading, like it easily rivals Comixology.
Good.
Easily, well, I think so.
I mean, I'm slightly biased, but I'm really I'm digging being in your world, so I mean that's actually really cool. And I don't want to go to other places at this point because yours allows me to put the comics out in the format of a comic, which is that goes to print, because you didn't know that I went to print, right?
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So you sell the print. Yeah, it's cool.
Yep. And then we're working hopefully with Source Point Press, who will be working with us to do print on demand as well.
POD. Now that could be cool as well.
Yeah, now, that's pie in the sky, but it is something we're looking into.
Now, the other one that you could look into for print on demand is Drive-Through Comics. I don't know if you know much about them or not.
I personally don't. I know that my CEO has worked with them a little bit. The reason why we're looking at Switch Print is we're actually partnered with them in terms of on Global Comics.
Okay.
And they've actually figured out how to do glow in the dark as well, which is amazing.
Right.
But just like in general, like we're already partnered with them, and we're also hoping to use it as an opportunity going through a publisher to print. Could that be an opportunity for creators to find publishers? And seeing the print go through SourcePoint, that might give them more networking and connections to be able to reach out to other publishers.
Yeah, I get it.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we are at the end of what we're doing for the night because I have to get up with the kiddo and get him ready for school in the morning. So I'm going to roll on out. And do you want to keep rolling, Can?
No, I'm going to head out as well. I'm out of steam.
Yeah, I got to go to bed. It's 1 a.m. here, and so I've got only an hour left, and then I'm heading to bed myself. So.
Well, thank you for joining us, Kat. You can join us tomorrow night, and anytime. Actually, you can always join us.
Coolio.
I hope you always feel comfortable joining us.
Yeah.
Draw with us, and we'll chat. So, yeah, Melon's on the other side of the nation. Melon's over on the West Coast. So.
And then Tess is in Australia. So.
Oh, wow.
Australia. So but I think Tess has muted us so that the cat won't draw Tess back. So,
but
cool.
Yeah, we're starting to get getting everywhere, man.
Yeah, we're getting all over the place. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us again, Melon, and and Tess, and we had Jerry here for a little bit, and we had we had Brent, and we had Donald, and so I think both of them have passed out long ago. So
Probably.
and for everybody else, as usual, keep your eyes on the stars, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.